So are you having trouble sleeping? Well, you're not alone. I'm one of them. More and more Americans are struggling to catch those Z's, and the trend is making health professionals concerned.
Yeah, the latest feature on The Atlantic talks about one woman's descent into insomnia, driving her to seek help using cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. So our mental health expert, Dr. Sheryl Ziegler, here to talk about that issue. And Dr. Ziegler, thanks so much for joining us, first of all.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What drove the author to do this?
Well, I know I talk about sleep a lot on here. People are probably like, she talks about sleep a lot, but we have 1 in 3 Americans reporting having sleep disturbance. And what I like about this piece is this is actually about insomnia. So sometimes I talk about like disturbed sleep, right? You're not doing well, staying asleep, going to sleep, but truly insomnia, where you are not sleeping for 2 or more weeks at a time. And what happens is, this is an interesting story because it's sort of her journey, and it's like so many people. First you lay there, right, and you start thinking about all the things to do or whatever the stresses are on your mind. I think we can all relate to that.
Been there.
But when you get to insomnia, so now you're days upon days of doing this, what happens is you get massive anxiety. Now you're laying there with heart palpitations, right? Or you're starting to sweat, or you have those ruminating thoughts. And it's more than just the list in your head, and it's now ruminating thoughts. And so it's very interesting, with 1 in 3 people walking around with anything from insomnia to sleep disturbance, we should all be concerned. Everything from mental health issues we just talked about. We also know that cognitive functioning isn't as good. You can even, if you are sleep deprived enough, you drive almost as if you've been intoxicated.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yep. So everyone can, you know, that feeling of just like, and so we've got people doing jobs, driving, you know, just trying to function in life, but really sleep deprived, which leads to physical and mental health issues.
And I completely understand that because I know I'm much more regulated with my kids when I get a good night's sleep.
Yes.
When I have consistent nights of, you know, whether it's a sleep disturbance or clinical insomnia, it's really hard for me to keep that, you know, regulated parent mode, and I want to. So you mentioned cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. How does that work with insomnia?
Yeah, so just like you had introduced, there's something called CBT-I.
Okay.
And so the I stands for insomnia. And so it's really just like cognitive behavioral therapy is the cognitions, right? What are your thoughts? So a therapist will work with the patient around what are the things that you're thinking about? So get them all out there. And then, so that's the C. And then the B, what are your behaviors? Do you lay there? Do you get up? Do you eat? What do you do? Do you go on your phone? Do you start scrolling? What do you do? And then they basically start doing re-scripting. They start doing reframes. So reframing, because here's the thing that happens is the anxiety feeds more anxiety. I know so many people can relate to this. The anxiety at some point gets to be about nothing else except for I need to sleep.
Yep.
And nothing else.
And checking the clock.
Worst.
The
Right?
worst.
And you're looking at the clock
Yes.
and you know.
Yes.
It's now
3
been 30
more
minutes.
hours.
Right. Now it's
30.
been an hour.
Oh my gosh, it's 3. Oh my gosh, it's 3:30.
Yep.
Oh, I have to get up. I have to get up soon. And so it's not again, the first part, sleep disturbance. Oh, I've got some stresses on my mind. I've got other. It starts to just become, it's like a fear. And you get obsessed with it, right? You get really, really focused. So this was a great article because it pointed out that CBT-I, the efficacy is better in the long term and just as good as meds in the short term.
Really?
So that's really, really promising. So, and people go to, I know, they go to over-the-counter or maybe prescription sleep aids, but everybody knows that's a really short term, kind of like a Band-Aid. And so CBT-I think, gets people in the place where they can really manage this. They've got real strategies and they have the real deep sleep, because sometimes when you take these meds, you're actually not getting into real REM sleep or not for long enough. That's like a whole nother segment, but really good quality sleep. You have to have this 90-minute sleep cycle. So it's really promising, and it shines a light on a very gold standard treatment.
Well, and it's all about the strategies too, right? Like in the middle of the night, thinking about like, if I'm in that zone and if I'm in that anxiety zone, how do I calm myself down and get back to a state where I can do it again?
Absolutely. And there's sleep hygiene, you know, and that's first, and this goes way beyond that. But everybody should be thinking about their sleep hygiene. You know, when are you turning your screen off? What's the temperature of your room? What's the lighting? That's all the, like, how do you set yourself up for a good night? But then once you're there, if you're in insomnia, I hope if anybody's listening, you really should try to go seek out treatment. I know it's not always easily available, but try to seek that out because it really has a huge cost to our physical and mental health.
Great to know. CBT-I.
Yes.
CBT-I. There you go.
Easy to remember.
Dr. Sheryl Ziegler, thank you so much for being here and all of your wisdom as always. We'll be right back.